What to do if the fur looks different in two different reference images. Just like this example here, you can tell that this is the same dog, but there's completely two different colors going on. So let me just show you what I did to go about this. Now, of course, I'm going to show you kind of the process that I started with. And the reference image that she wanted was this one here, which I don't prefer that one, but she liked the pose better and liked the way that the ears laid down. So that's the one that I ended up going with. And let me just tell you, boy, was I wrong on the coloring. So this reference image was way too saturated for the actual dog. And so she of course she sent me a lot of pictures, but not all of them had good quality lighting. She ended up sending me a lot of indoor lighting pictures, and then ones that were too bright in the sun. So I thought that maybe this dog had quite a bit of this more orangey red tones that were really pretty. But unfortunately, actually, that wasn't the case. So she ended up having to send me more pictures once I was finished overall. So you definitely don't want to make that same mistake where you've completed the portrait, you sent the picture in for approval, and they say, this is not my dog. So to avoid that from happening in the future, you really want to make sure that you have the right kind of good quality reference images. So what I like to do is I ask my clients, I need some outdoor pictures, best if they're close up, and at least probably no more than 3 pictures with different poses. That way you can get a good understanding of the coloring that's actually happening, because not all dogs have completely different colors depending on the pose and the lighting. But this dog specifically really had a variety of color, and it just kept changing every angle that this client would send me. So what I ended up ultimately doing was lightening up a lot of this. So you can see here I'm actually drawing it very dark, just like the reference image, because I went by both reference images that I showed you in the beginning, and both of them had a lot of orange and browns in there. So that's kind of what I was going with, and I wish that I had sent her a work in progress picture, which I did send her a little bit of one, and she never said anything about it. So I should have been more specific in saying, hey, is this a good coloring to begin with? Because some people, they might not actually tell you or communicate whether it looks good or not. Or I don't always send in progress pictures, but it really just depends on the person that you're working with. Especially if you're working with a bigger size, you want to make sure that it's going to look good and look accurate before you completely finish the whole portrait. So ultimately, I liked how this one turned out, but I had to make a lot of adjustments after all of working on this, and luckily the paper held up really good as I was erasing certain areas. So you really want to have good kind of quality paper, and if you're curious about the quality or the kind of paper that I'm using, you can go down to the link below for the materials list. I explain the type of paper I use, and then the ones that I also recommend if you're going on a budget. But this one is actually it's a Bristol kind of paper. It's the vellum paper, so it is really nice and it holds up really well, especially when I'm using this Gamsel mineral spirit oil to be able to create more of a smooth texture as well. So all of that stuff is linked in the materials list below. But moving on here, so it's just very dark, and you can tell from those reference images that yeah, the dog has a lot lighter coloring in some areas, but I wasn't really sure how to go about this because she never really explained to me, you know, hey, lighten up these areas. I know it's a little bit dark. She just told me, I like this pose and this one specifically, and can you just brighten up the eyes some? So that's what I went by, and I just should have communicated a little bit better. Hey, is this a good coloring as well? That way I don't end up making mistakes in the end. And And you know, it is okay to make mistakes as long as you're able to, let's say, erase, or you know, if you drew too light, you can go back over and start drawing a little bit darker. That's less messy of a mistake than if you drew too dark and then you have to go erase some of it to lighten it up. But you can also use lighter colored pencils to lighten it up at the same time. So it really just depends on you know, the type of paper, the colors you used, all of that. But ultimately, I think this one kind of turned out pretty good, and she was still satisfied and happy in the end. So I lightened it up, and then I added some gold tones back into it, which you will see here in the end, because I didn't record myself erasing everything and lightening it up, but you could see that I started to lighten it up a lot with some of those lighter color pencils and just define some of those areas. So if you end up with one of those situations where the dog just looks different, completely different pictures, definitely ask the client first. So this is what it ended up turning out to be, with a little bit of some gold tones in there, and she was completely satisfied with it. And I do agree, this looks more like the actual dog. Let me know what you think of the results in the comments below, and please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.